You will notice that I'm in celebration right mode right now. And I am. And how do I make that extra celebratory even better? With pills. With more pills. And alcohol. This is a beer from Holland that's pretty good. It's imported into the country where I'm at now. And another pill to alter my brain chemistry to an acceptable level. And the Holland brew here. So I'm just thinking about really. See, I was kind of hyper when I was growing up. And then I was smarter than my dad, the father figure, and probably my mom too. And they thought it was necessary to control me with Quaaludes. So, I'd always wondered why. You remember the good old grilled cheese sandwich? It's got butter on both sides, and it's lightly toasted or burned, and it's got that good cheese in the middle, and mild cheddar, of course, like stateside. And then I'd notice I would get sleepy after these, and then I found like a part of a pill in one. And then that made me figure out, well, okay, yeah, the parents are putting pills in my food, and that's why I'm sleepy and all that. And that is why I am having trouble studying. So I go into the bathroom, and what do I find? Underneath the sink, I see like a big jar. It's seriously a freaking big jar. And I open up the top, and it says Roar 714. And then there's another jar, and it says an equally big jar, Roar 712. And then we have our diazepams, and we have our Demerals and our Percodans and everything too as well. And that's basically how I was raised. That was my childhood, was the good, responsible, loving, adoptive family that I was raised in. Made sure that I was doped up on Quaaludes since as far as I can remember. It got so bad that I was having trouble doing my schoolwork and falling asleep at school and functioning. So basically, I started eating at my friends' neighbors' houses. That's back when the U.S. was a good country, and you knew who your neighbors were, and you could, their parents knew. You played with your neighborhood kids, and their parents knew you, and they knew your parents, other than my parents who were giving me Quaaludes all the time, but So that's how it goes, so. There'd be like a white film on the bottom of these huge jars. I think they were in the thousands. And, they were definitely in the thousand in a jar. Your parents have to be connected, and my adoptive parents had good connections. So, I've probably eaten more Quaaludes than anybody I've ever met. And, I have some friends that are still living that can probably verify that. I wouldn't advise swimming on Quaaludes. I saved a friend of mine's life that we both took Quaaludes, but yeah. But your tolerance goes up on them. You have to eat like Yeah, I think I was up to 20 at a time. But the nice thing about the Quaalude was like if you had one 714 and a couple beers, it would be like drinking a half rack. So you didn't have to drink a lot of beer. But your tolerance goes up, so you just have to take more Quaaludes and drink hard liquor and all that stuff, which I did for years. Interesting. We all have individual lives, and we have individual stories, and we're all individual people and everything. But I figure 1,000. I mean, just with the Quaaludes and all the years my parents lovingly placed me on Quaaludes to make sure I was under their control. Um, I don't know. Maybe up to 8,000 Quaaludes I've had. The active ingredient is methaqualone. Now, by the time I got off of Quaaludes, or they stopped giving me, or I got old enough to stop taking them, or whatever happened, they stopped making them because Carolyn Ann Quinlan, I guess, died. So there's a big lawsuit or something over the Quaaludes. So I think Lemon started making them, and then I don't know who did after that. And I don't know if they make them anywhere. They probably do somewhere. But yeah, I got to enjoy the real 714s and 712s, and I think I had lemons at parties and stuff and all that, but my parents didn't have them around the house, so yeah, on the Quaaludes, it would be maybe 10,000 plus, possibly. I wonder where I could get some. I haven't had a Quaalude, because we're talking like 35 years ago for a 712 or 714. Maybe more. I'm curious of where I could get one. Just to see if I had that, if it would bring back some memories. Maybe it would help me out with my education, because it sure didn't when I was growing up, when I was a kid, I'll tell you that. It was freaking hard concentrating on anything and studying when you're all doped up on Quaaludes. Isn't that amazing? Yeah, they didn't have Ritalin, or they had Ritalin back in those days, but for some reason they just opted for Quaaludes for my mind control. And yeah, so that was my basic education growing up in the public school system. So I was educated with Quaaludes. That was how I was educated. That was my primary education. And yes, it affected test scores, but it educated me in other ways. So that's how I try to look at it. Then, of course, as I got older, like around 7 or 8 years old, I found that if I were to supplement the Quaalude with the alcohol, it would improve the Quaalude. So I was taking like 12 714s, and then I was drinking, what was it, Jim Beam whiskey back then. I lived on a houseboat on Portage Bay in Seattle, Washington. It's connected to Lake Union. And then there's University of Washington right across the road. But I got the Quaaludes when I was living on 2622 11th Avenue East on Lower Capitol Hill. And then when my father moved to the houseboat, he had plenty of Quaaludes there too. So they became a bargaining chip because I started getting into pot. Maybe 8 or 9. I mean, I liked the whole effect that I got from pot, so I started trading these Quaaludes to my older buddies that took a liking to pot. I mean, I took a liking to pot, and they took a liking to Quaaludes, so it was a win-win situation. I would just trade straight across for pot back then. Good pot. Sometimes crappy pot. But that was back when pot, like, now it's just a stinky green pot, and it's all high THC, raised hydroponically, genetically, made for the best, grown for the best quality. Back then, it was a gamble. You get the Mexican or the Colombian or something that seeds would explode if you left them inside the joint. Then occasionally we'd get our Thai stick from Thailand, and we'd get our hash from Afghanistan. There was a lot more variety back then. Now it's just like turned into this green bud world, but yeah. And the Quaaludes are gone. I think. I don't know. Maybe they're somewhere in some country. And that's basically it with the Quaaludes. It was like a vitamin supplement for my childhood, my adoptive family. Well, I don't have to tell you what I have to do next, do I? It's pretty obvious. The writing's on the glass, so I'll have to tune out.